Greetings and welcome. As you come on in, please open up the chat and shoot an emoji, give me a thumbs up, give me an 1111, anything to let me know that you can see me and hear me. And official greetings and welcome to SEM Mondays, which, I had so much resistance to doing this and for so long. And SEM Mondays has literally become a highlight of my week. And, there's a lot of planning, a lot of things that go into producing this show here on YouTube. And yet, I just love it. I absolutely love it, primarily because most of the folks, not all, and it's interesting because in the beginning, I thought it was only SEM Mondays was really going to be exclusively for people who are very new to source energy medicine or just getting familiar with it. And as time has gone by, that has been so not true. About 80% of the folks who show up every week for SEM Mondays, a lot of them are actually participants in our online workshops, and a lot of people have achieved mastery of source energy medicine. A lot of our folks who are going through our certified source energy medicine coach training show up for SEM Mondays, and a lot of people who do the energy work that I have been sharing on SEM Mondays since last April. It's known as the non-material aspect of source energy medicine. A lot of our practitioners, right, the folks who have been trained and certified to do the energy work, they show up at SEM Mondays. So I love that it's a really diverse community of people who are really new, just learning about source energy medicine. And some folks have been around source energy medicine for years, right, sometimes 10 or more years, which I think creates a beautiful mix of kind, loving, generous, supportive people who are really, I really celebrate your boldness because, if I were able to heal myself before source energy medicine, there would be no source energy medicine, right? And I had this inner knowing that with the right technology, the right tools, the right support, my body should be able to be self-balancing, self-healing, and self-correcting. I had no evidence of that. I certainly had no mentors, no role models, no one to follow their path. As Tony Robbins often teaches, if you want to, accomplish something, find someone who has achieved what you want to accomplish, and success leaves clues. The only clues that I could find were left by those who were unsuccessful, right? Failure can actually help to shorten a learning curve, but as alone as I was for most of the several years that I was very passionately and aggressively seeking ways to be able to heal myself, both things that were believed to be acquired, right? Not so there's basically two camps on dis-ease. One is you just picked it up somewhere, right? The other is you inherited it, right? It's part of your genes, or there's some biological story that helps to explain the challenges. And I had both, right? So as if one or the other wouldn't be bad enough, mine were both. And honestly, if through all of those years, I knew that it shouldn't be this hard. And it shouldn't be this costly either. Literally tens of thousands of dollars a year for years on end. I mean, it was a lot of years that I spent a lot of time traveling, spent a lot of time studying, spent a lot of time literally taking the various remedies and doing the various things that were the treatments was like having a second full-time job. I used to call it a part-time job, and 20, 30 hours a week, is a significant task, right? It was so complicated. And think about it. This is way before smartphones, right? So I had calendars, I had timers, I had drawers full of supplements and homeopathic remedies and vibrational remedies, and constantly ordering things, and you name it. And a couple of things that I'm just so present to and things that I'm so grateful for with SEM Mondays, especially with COVID, think about it. If you had to travel to New York or Northern California or Philadelphia or Toronto to learn about source energy medicine, most people wouldn't, right? I would have a really hard time keeping the kind of schedule that I had before I transitioned to doing things online. I was having a hard time keeping that schedule, and there was no pandemic, right? So traveling has become not an easy thing to do. So I'm so grateful that we each get to stay in the comfort of our own home, whether you are you just want to learn all about source energy medicine to help yourself and maybe share it with some of your family members who are open to it, and then maybe your neighbors, or you're an integrative wellness practitioner and you want to learn everything that there is to learn about source energy medicine, literally to master it. Learn the non-material aspect of source energy medicine so that you can incorporate both our charging labels and the energy work into your practice. You can do it all at home at your own pace from the comfort and safety of your own home, and for a fraction of what it used to cost folks who would be traveling, usually numerous times to different places where I held workshops. Fern Wolf, my dear friend, who is the Canadian representative for Source Energy Medicine, when she first found out about Source Energy Medicine, she lives just outside of Toronto in the greater Toronto area. She traveled to Virginia and Maryland, I think about 6 times in probably the first 3 or 4 months from when she learned about Source Energy Medicine, and because of my calendar. To get from Toronto to where I was speaking was difficult, and yet, I'm so grateful that she could see the potential of source energy medicine, and she knew what it meant to her practice. So, she invested. I sometimes should ask her like how much her financial investment was in source energy medicine. I sometimes feel bad now because she obviously invested tens of thousands of dollars in learning to master source energy medicine. And now it's a small fraction of that for anyone who is either just learning about source energy medicine or going through our online workshops. So I before COVID, I often, to my close friends and colleagues and people who support me with the tech stuff, I'd often complain about the learning curve with transitioning to online. And yet, I'm so glad that I transitioned when I did, because if I was transitioning last April, there would likely be no source energy medicine. It was way too steep a learning curve. So I'm very, very grateful to be a few years ahead of that. And now SEM Mondays came from all of that, right? I couldn't have done this without having produced all our online workshops and having the experience and the technical infrastructure and, of course, all of the support to be able to do this. So I am really, really, really grateful for all of that. And, I'm sharing most of that because I don't have any questions to answer today. And certainly if you are with me here live and you have a question, please go ahead and type that into the chat. But the first, I don't know how long of my SEM Monday show on YouTube, it was 11 minutes. It was a very quick Q&A, and 11 minutes often with sophisticated questions, or like one or two, because most questions I can simply refer people, or Milo, who does a lot of our tech support. He does all of our live chat. The answers are in the material that's in the Quick Start Guide. And if you don't know about the Source Energy Medicine Quick Start Guide, it's a free course in Source Energy Medicine. It contains everything that's essential to your journey with Source Energy Medicine, and the answers are there. So a lot of questions come from people who don't know about the Quick Start Guide, and a lot of questions come from folks who know about the Quick Start Guide, but they haven't watched the videos that are in there. So it's easy to just point someone to a video and say, please watch this, and there's your answer. So it's actually, Milo asked me to please just make this one statement. I think it was 2 weeks ago. I answered I think the most frequently asked questions that I receive about Anthony William, his 28-day celery juice cleanse. What my 2 cents is on it. Is it I mean, the questions could all be boiled down to, is it just a fad, just another crazy, kooky health fad? Or is there something to it, right? Is there eternal healing wisdom in there? And then after that, we got a whole slew of other questions. And a lot of them were like odd. Like, does Anthony Williams suggest doing a gallbladder cleanse before doing the liver cleanse? The celery juice cleanse is first and foremost a liver cleanse, right? So my very strong request is, that's a great question for Anthony, right? He does live Q&As, and he has a lot of content on YouTube. He has a ton of free content, and his celery juice book is phenomenal. So, God, it's like, if you have questions about that, point the questions towards Anthony, because one of the reasons why I did that whole segment, and there's going to be an excerpt taken out of that, and it'll be standalone on our YouTube channel, is because, there are so many videos on YouTube that I was watching when I was first trying to sort out, is this just a crazy, kooky health fad, or is there wisdom? There are a lot of videos that have literally millions of views where they're misinforming the viewer, right? They're telling people stuff that Anthony says don't do. And I thought, with that one segment, that I could answer all of the questions, and apparently not. So if you have more questions, go to Anthony's YouTube channel. He was doing live Q&As on YouTube, and I believe he changed to TikTok, but I haven't been following him so closely last couple of months. But last I heard, that's what he was in the midst of doing. Mostly because YouTube censors him. YouTube interrupts his live streams, and it's kind of crazy to think about, and yet that's the level of freedom of speech that we have on some platforms, right? So I am super grateful to YouTube. I think our broadcast has been interrupted only a couple of times, and I wasn't even talking about stuff that I would consider to be risky, right? There was a lot of conversation about is there a link between the new cellular network that went online last year and COVID-19? And every time I tried to talk about that, I kept getting shut down. So I stopped using the certain words, and I've been able to talk about it pretty freely, but I still think there's something in there somewhere. And I'm grateful to YouTube. It's a clunky ass platform. There's no other way to say it. It is awkward from a broadcaster's perspective. And, they're a very, very, very wealthy company. They're owned by Google. And it's horrible. It's absolutely horrible on my end. And, I've been on the user end a lot, and it ain't great on the other side of it either. And yet, it's a crazy popular platform. So I'm going to pause here and scroll through the chat real quick and see if there are any questions that have come in. Thank you for all the hellos and awesome emojis. Welcome, Barb and Fifth Wheel Red. Great to have you here. Thank you for the applause. And Anne and Daniel, Celine, Barbara Ann, Marty. Awesome, Marty. Thank you. Marty, you're always so kind replying to our announcement emails, and I so appreciate your enthusiasm. Oh, this is awesome. Susie says, hi, Stephen, and everybody, and Stephen, special thanks to the celery juice cleanse info. She's on day 12, as well as daily experiencing YouTube healing sessions and drinking source energy medicine too. Susie, thank you, Susie, for sharing that, because I also received a lot of emails from people who didn't know about the celery juice cleanse. And I didn't think there was anybody on this planet who didn't know about it before. There were actually a couple of personal friends of mine who were on that one, who started, the celery juice cleanse. So I'm really, 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 thank you for sharing that, Susie, because that wasn't my intention. And yet, my gosh, if you have a pulse, doing the celery juice cleanse will absolutely support your healing process, your healing journey. There's no question about it. I don't care how clean and healthy a lifestyle you live. you are being exposed to toxins and doing some form of a liver cleanse on a regular basis, once or twice or 3 times a year. Some folks do it with change of seasons. If you live in a place where seasons change, I live at 7,000 feet in Colorado, and we used to experience 4 seasons. Often we'd experience 4 seasons in a matter of 2 weeks, and now there's even as crazy as that was, that doesn't even apply anymore. It's like every day could be something. Even every day could be 3 seasons in a day, almost 4, certainly 3 seasons in a day. So so thank you for that, Susie. Welcome, Candace and Trish. Awesome to have you all here. And I don't see any questions, so I'm going to prepare things on my end for doing the group energy healing session. I mentioned that in the beginning, SEM Mondays was 11 minutes. It was a very quick Q&A. And then when this pandemic started, as a way of being able to support you on your healing journey, really to help to support you to stay well during this health crisis, I started including group energy healing sessions as part of SEM Mondays. And I like doing the Q&A because I love knowing what your questions are, especially for people who have gone through the Quick Start Guide. That helps me to know if there's content missing from the Quick Start Guide, right? And yet, when we started doing the group energy healing sessions, that's for me when SEM Mondays became exciting, and it became much more fun, and it became something that I really started to look forward to. And each one is different, even though there's, I don't know how many now, but there's a lot now archived. Milo, who does most of my tech support, and thank you. I think it was Trish. Yeah, Trish, thanking Milo in there. Thank you. There's so many people who Milo is like, God, I love that young man so much. Mostly because who he is. He's an awesome young man, but he's really passionate about source energy medicine, and he's really passionate about helping people to sort it all out. So, Milo created a special playlist that has all of the replays for SEM Mondays in there. And there are a lot of people like Susie who has been re-watching, re-experiencing a group non-material source energy medicine session. Each one is different, and yet each one is truly unlimited in terms of potential and possibility. So there have been a lot of people in our community who have been watching a replay once or twice or 3 times a day. And I think it's super smart, primarily, for a couple of different reasons. Primarily, while these group sessions are pretty far short of what a session is when I work one-on-one with a client for a variety of reasons, what we're able to do in the group sessions are work on the things that are most critical to you staying well during this health crisis. And one of the biggest challenges to staying well during this health crisis is stress, fear, uncertainty. We're living in unprecedented levels of all of those things, and it ain't going away. And it's been prolonged, right? Unless you are a current active military person or former, I think there are a few people, and there are certainly exceptions, right? People who work on the trading floor at the stock exchange, people who work in emergency rooms, people who work in, the firefighters. Think of all of the heroes who professionally, and I'm not putting the stock traders in the category with the heroes, but the stock traders, and the reason why they're in this conversation is because the level of stress is insane that they're under, right? The pressure is just nuts. So we used to see PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, just within primarily our war heroes and people who work in emergency rooms, police and firefighters. And then, you would see the crazy Wall Street folks who, their career is over typically earlier than professional athletes because they just burn out, right? They just can't physically do it, physically or mentally or spiritually, I would hope also. Just can't do it anymore. And yet, regular civilians, all of us have been under levels of stress, and, the uncertainty creates stress. There's no question about it. And there's so much uncertainty. It's not just about the virus, although there's even that is increasing because the virus is mutating. Like if I'm shocked that they weren't talking about this from the beginning, because that's one of, I think, the biggest challenges with viruses. It's one of the biggest challenges with the AIDS virus, with HIV. It mutated faster than the researchers could actually identify it. And there's an intelligence to it also. It mutates to stay alive, and that's what COVID is doing. I love that within Source Energy Medicine, our transformation virus formula doesn't enable the virus to mutate. It covers the vibrational category of virus. And our Source Energy Medicine Transformation Fusion number 3 even prevents a virus from mutating into something else. There are a lot of researchers who will say they can't do that, and I have enough anecdotal evidence that I'm highly, highly, highly confident that they can. So someday, maybe most people who do this research will understand that, they'll learn that, and it'll be common knowledge. Right now, it's not outside of small pockets of communities. So I think it's a wonderful thing to be able to treat all virus as a one vibrational entity. Because when I worked at Healers Who Share, for example, they had and still have thousands of different virus-specific vibrational medicines, which most of the time are more or less ineffective, right? If you need to take that for a couple of weeks, the virus is mutating after the first or second time that you take it. And that was one of the missing pieces that I saw when I worked there. And it didn't sit right with me that we needed to address pathogens so specifically. So back to this group energy healing session. One of the blessings with being able to do this is so far beyond we're able to just stay in the comfort and safety of our own home. But it's the work has equal potential whether you're watching this live or watching this in replay. There's absolutely, based on feedback that I've received, there's definitely added benefit to re-experiencing either the same session again or watching a replay. And again, once or twice or 3 times a day. In part because if we focus on the things that are most essential to your health and well-being, right? Your energy level, transforming your subconscious mind, transforming the physical aspect of your being, instituting an attitude of allowance. But it also helps to mitigate the stress, right? Because it's the stress that creates the biggest challenge to our energy level. And, if our energy level drops, if you don't understand about energy levels and the importance of that, there are some videos on our playlist. You can simply search for them and find them. But the calibration of the physical aspect of your being is absolutely going to determine who's going to stay well and who's going to get COVID. There's no question about it. And I know that's a bold statement. I know it's a far-reaching statement. And yet I've seen it to be true time after time after time again since 2005, not just since last March and April. So it's something that I think is a huge gift. That is, it's a not well known bit of information. So there's no question that our community and I think about how leading edge Source Energy Medicine is, and it's even more leading edge now than it was in 2004 and 2005. And I didn't think it could be more leading edge than it was then. And it is now because the energy healing aspect, the non-material aspect of Source Energy Medicine is absolutely the leading edge of a leading edge self-healing methodology, right? It's the work that we're doing in our non-material Source Energy Medicine community with our practitioners and non-practitioners that really does drive the pushes that edge, right? We keep having these breakthroughs that are changing what's possible, mostly in terms of speed, right? In terms of time frames, how long things take. But it's so cool. Last couple of months we've been exploring work literally on our soul that previously we have not been able to explore, and work on our emotional body, which we have previously been able to explore, but nowhere even close to this depth. And it's the soul work that opens up the door to working on the emotional body. So I think I talked about this last week, and I may not have, so I'm going to speak to it again. Unfortunately, that work can't be put into charging labels. So there will be an opportunity for you to experience that work in the future, and it'll likely look like a master class, but I'm not sure. Milo and I and some of the folks who from our non-material source energy medicine community who, provide feedback and ideas and inspiration, we're talking about it as a collective, and we're trying to figure out how can we share these gifts with the rest of our community so that everyone can benefit from it. And one thing that really I can't talk about this work without mentioning this. When this breakthrough with being able to work on the soul became possible, my first question is why now? I've been wanting to do that kind of work since before source energy medicine, and yet there were a lot of reasons why we couldn't. But one thing that is absolutely crystal clear to me now is there are so many humans on this planet who have what would be characterized as a damaged soul, a broken soul, a wounded soul, that if we don't heal on that level, right? If we don't heal on a soul level, which is, from my perspective, the soul level work and the emotional body work is the deepest work that we can do as humans. If we don't do that work now, our future is really not it's not even not questionable. It's not even questionable, right? It's there is not much future for us. And I think a lot of the conditions that we see these days, whether it's socially or economically or politically, is because we're all walking around. Some thank God no longer, but walking around with these horribly damaged scarred, bruised, battered, think about traumatized souls, behaving accordingly. So I'm highly confident that this work revealed itself now to help to literally save us as a species, which is gives me even greater hope for our future. Right, 2021. I think I think there were a lot of people who are so looking forward to 2021, so looking forward to political changes, and I think I think a lot of those things help to contribute to a lot of the uncertainty. So, but it absolutely gives me greater hope for our future than I have had, and I have had. It's not like I was very pessimistic about our future, and and yet I thought I didn't think 2020 was going to be what it was by any means. And unless you're Sylvia Brown, you didn't see this coming, right? You had to be like a channel or a sage or a seer to have predicted that, right? It was a black swan, right? There's no other way to describe it. So within this group energy healing session that we're about to embark upon, there really is no order of difficulty, right? So I always encourage you to pick one goal or one challenge. And for a lot of people, it's just, I just want to stay well. I just don't want to experience COVID-19. I want to stay well. And beyond, that thing, right? Being well mentally, physically, emotionally, and spiritually enables me to show up in this world differently than when those areas are out of balance and they're diseased, right? So I'm not so interested in, there's so much buzz around longevity and aging and anti-aging. I'm only interested in sticking around for another 50 or 60 or 70 years if, then I can be as active and fit and clear-minded and enthusiastic about life as I am today, right? But I really think what we believe to be true about aging is a disease, right? We age 3, 4, 5, 10 times faster than our physiology was designed to age. And I talk about that in my book, Heal Thyself, and I talk about that in our online workshops. And you don't have to understand all of the basics or the whys to that. It's covered simply by following the sample protocol. I think I firmly believe that the more you understand about what source energy medicine does, the greater its potential. There's no question about it. In fact, a lot of the people who I would say, there are definite exceptions to this, but some of the people who stick out in my mind as having the biggest transformations, right, what they would characterize as miracles, know the most about source energy medicine. So I definitely make this corollary relationship between those two things. And yet I have heard people who have had literally days or weeks to live, who knew nothing about source energy medicine, started taking it and had what they would characterize as miraculous experiences. So, you know, again, those are definite outliers, whereas the folks who know the most about source energy medicine absolutely seem to reap the benefits the most. So one of the reasons why there is no order of difficulty in terms of you picking a challenge or a goal is because it's you that is healing yourself, right? I'm acting as a guide, but you are actually setting the pace and the depth and the speed and the tempo at which we work. And the reason why that is because it is the source energy that is within you, the same energy that animates your heart and breathes your lungs and digests your food without you thinking about it. It is that same energy that is responsible for all health and healing. All dis-ease is absolutely human created, and all healing is absolutely divinely inspired and divinely guided and led. So I really love the notion that, I think about how many years I spent really, as I think it was St. Paul who said, our prayers aren't answered because we pray amiss. And I spent most of my adult life praying amiss, which basically means praying wrong, right? Or praying inappropriately, or praying in ways that just don't work, right? But I have, thanks to Ogmandino, come to the realization that, well, in case you don't know, Ogmandino, New York Times bestselling author, perennial bestseller. He's long deceased, and still continues to have a bestseller long since his passing. He's the author of numerous books, but his most popular is The Greatest Salesman Ever. And Og said the only prayer that we should ever ask, that we should ever pray for, is guidance. Right? Guide me in all ways. Guide my thinking, guide my hands, guide my feet, guide my phone calls, guide my emails, guide me. And also, praying to have people put on my path today who I will recognize, who I can serve, who I can help, who can help me, who can serve me, who will love me, who I can love, and guide me to them. It should be the only prayer that we ever pray for. I remember when I had significant health challenges, praying for healing pushes the what I was praying for away, because that's focusing on what's missing, what's lacking, or what I'm wanting, and the universe gives me more to miss and lack and want. So if I simply pray for guide me, what's the next most logical, rational thing for me to do to enable me to continue to be able to heal myself? That's a beautiful prayer. That's a very empowering prayer. Whereas praying for what's missing or lacking or wanting is a very disempowered, it's a very victim energy, right? Because I am seeking answers outside of myself, and answers can only come from within. So that said, I invite you to think about a goal or a challenge that you'd like to focus on today. And the work is phenomenally fast, and especially this abbreviated version of the non-material aspect of source energy medicine, likely be 5 minutes or so. It is so fast because we're working in what scientists would describe as the 0 point field. Lay people tend to refer to that as the quantum realm, but it's where we're particles or waves of light and information, light or information, and there is no such thing as linear time, and there aren't cells and organs and functions and systems. It's the energy, literally, that builds up, that makes up our organs and cells and functions and systems, and we work in that realm, and then the mental, physical, material realm has to follow it, can't not, right? Simple laws of physics. So on your end, a minimum of distractions is always best. Turn off your devices, turn off your ringers, turn off your, if you can, if you're on call or something and you have to have a ringer on, I totally understand, but recognize that having distractions will limit what's possible, right? So if you're not in a place where you can fully receive this experience, just come back later, right? Carve out some time, 10, 15 minutes, and honor your healing journey, right? You are so worthy, and if you don't have 10 minutes, then you should be doing this an hour a day, honestly. So I turn off my camera. There'll be some chanting music playing in the background, and I'll go ahead and get all of that set up. The chanting has nothing to do with the energy work itself. It confuses a lot of people, but it's simply in this scenario so that you understand that we're still broadcasting. I didn't fall asleep or go away, and that there is actually work being done, right? The energy work is the same technology in our charging label system, except it's infinitely more flexible and, again, faster, more direct. I think that's all I have to share. If you don't know, if you haven't watched it already, or you don't know a lot about the energy work, there are some videos on our YouTube channel. There's a video that's inside the Quick Start Guide. If you haven't signed up for the Quick Start Guide, there's always a link in the show notes below the player. You have to click the see more or show more, whatever the prompt says, and there's a link in there. And after this session is done, I'll come back, invite you to take a deep breath. I always love to see how the session lands for you. Each one feels different for me, and I always love to, within all of source energy medicine, whether we're talking charging labels or energy healing, I am most interested in measurable results, right? What can tangibly identify. And sometimes, right, it's a non-tangible. I just feel better. It's kind of hard to describe. But sometimes there's a very high level of pain, and at the end of pain is either radically reduced or non-existent, and that's measurable, right? So continue to breathe comfortably and continue to relax. A lot of people like to close their eyes and lie down, and if that is appropriate for you to do, and if you feel safe doing that, and you're not driving a car or flying an airplane, that do that. Throughout this, please just use common sense. And I will go ahead and switch my camera off and get started here, and then I'll when I come back, I will check the chat for any last minute questions, and then we will wrap up for now, and God willing, see you back here again next Monday. So I invite you to get nice and comfortable and think about what it is that you would like to receive, what you would like to experience. Continue to breathe comfortably. Continue to breathe into the awareness that it is the source of all creation in you that is not only responsible for your birth and keeping you alive thus far, but is also responsible for any healing that you could possibly experience, all healing that you could possibly experience. And when I am not experiencing that healing energy, it's because I am blocking it in some way, either consciously or unconsciously, or more often subconsciously. And to a large degree, that's the work of source energy medicine. It's removing that resistance to that natural flow of source energy that is constantly being gently and gracefully and beautifully showered upon you. As much as possible, try and quiet your mind and simply watch your thoughts float by as if they were clouds in the sky. As much as possible, try and see yourself the way the source of all creation sees you, as whole, perfect, innocent, complete in every way possible, completely free of sin, which then enables us to be completely free of guilt or shame. And if there are any acts for which forgiveness is appropriate, either forgiving myself or forgiving another, just know that that can happen in an instant, and no one else has to know about it. All forgiveness is ultimately self-forgiveness, even if not especially in situations where I would view myself as being a victim. As much as possible, see any incident like that the way the source of all creation sees it. And know that too can be healed in an instant, gracefully, perfectly, deeply and profoundly, without drama or catharsis or stimulating anything physically, mentally, emotionally, or spiritually. Continue to breathe comfortably, continue to allow the blessings, allow the guidance to be received. Whether you hear the guidance or see the guidance or feel the guidance, simply allow it. And as you allow it, expressing gratitude, however that feels appropriate to you, is the fastest, the most direct route to ensure you will always receive the guidance you are asking for. Sometimes the guidance is not the answer that you're wanting to hear, but the guidance is always exactly what you need to hear. Continue to relax. Continue to receive. invite you to take a nice, deep, yet comfortable breath. Wiggle your fingers and toes gently. And if your eyes are closed, please go ahead and slowly blink them open. Continue to breathe comfortably. Continue to allow. Continue to receive. And please know that even though this opportunity, this healing experience, which for me always feels like unconditional love, it's just so warm and rich and beautiful. Just know that even though this was just a really, really short amount of linear time, this work will continue to unfold for you for hours to come. And revisiting either this particular session or one of the other group energy healing sessions from SEM Mondays, there's definite added benefit to it based on the feedback that I have received. So I checked the chat real quick before I came back and turned my camera on, and I don't see any questions. Just lots of love and some very cool, funny emojis. I really, really appreciate the love and support, and I love that our community is filled with really kind, compassionate, generous, gracious, loving people, right? I don't know about you, but outside of our community, I don't find that a lot, and it's absolutely what this world needs more of. So bless you for being bold and courageous and free thinking, and for knowing somehow, some way you can indeed heal yourself. I know that's possible for you, and I will hold steadfast to the vision, which I believe is the way the source of all creation sees you, which is your innocence, your perfection, your beauty, both inner and outer, your soul radiating without anything that would get in the way from you literally fully and from a place of complete empowerment, stepping into the greatness that you were created to be. Never before has the world needed healed people, right? People, and I don't know that we're ever completely healed, but people who are healing ourselves, right? People who are actively, consciously, deliberately exploring healing physically and spiritually and mentally and emotionally and economically and creatively in every way that we could possibly experience healing. That is what I believe will create a future that will be much more kind and generous and graceful, with many, many, many more opportunities for all than have been historically possible or historically present. So my friends, God willing, I'll see you back here next Monday, same time. If you ever have a question and you're not able to join us live, my email is always included in the show notes below. Certainly subscribing to my YouTube channel is a phenomenal way for me to be able to continue to support you. And if you click that bell notification icon, YouTube will let you know when I'm live or when I upload a new video to our website. So between now and next Monday, just take really, really, really good care of yourself. Be gentle with yourself, and please be kind and generous and gracious with your brothers and sisters, especially those who are like kicking you in the shins right now, right? It's like we're all experiencing unprecedented levels of stress and fear and trauma, and I think we are all on an edge that we typically are not. So for me, that means, it's time to up my compassion and my tolerance and really see, well, that's beyond my edge of compassion and tolerance. And why is that, right? Why is that where I draw the line? And it doesn't mean that we don't condone atrocities or morally inappropriate behavior. And yet, finding compassion and finding space to have those deeply wounded individuals helped is the only way we're going to see a brighter future. So I wish you continued blessings on your journey with Source Energy Medicine.